What's up, guys? Welcome to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Palantir stock, ticker symbol PLTR, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Wednesday, May 8th. All right, guys, Palantir stock here today, of course, including the after-hours earnings report yesterday, down $3.81 per share. That's minus 15.11% as of the close. After-hours movement likely to be low volume. Take it with a grain of salt. But yesterday's video, again, Palantir is a daily upload, so if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. I'll keep the Palantir videos coming. But last night's video was, about the earnings report in general. However, today's video, I would argue, is more important because we get updated data from the traders that we get only during the intraday session, because today is the day one after the earnings report. So we're going to take a look at that primarily. We'll start off with a quick little volume profile analysis to try to pull out any bias that we can. We'll take a look at the psychological levels here moving forward that we need to pay attention to, because big money, smart money is going to be watching those. And then we'll take a look at implied volatility, expected move, and the directional bias for tomorrow coming out of the chain. So let's get started here by doing that volume profile analysis here on the 5-minute chart. Okay, really what we're doing here, we're looking under the hood. We're peeling back a layer of the onion and pulling out more information, getting a deeper understanding of the move that has already occurred. Okay, so we look here. Off the open, we get a contextual high volume open. That's very normal, okay, because it's the day after earnings, so it's going to be a high volume bar. We expect that. However, what we expect then is a quick fade in volume that pretty much gets down within about, 30, 45 minutes to more like mid-morning, late morning volume. Volume hung on a little deeper into the day today on these downside moves. Okay, so we're seeing a little bit of elevated out of context volume deeper into the day on primarily the red side of those downside moves. So listen, that is a little bit of bearish bias there. If we're not remaining unbiased, then what are we doing here? That's a little bit of bearish bias coming off the open there. Okay. Now, as we move through the day, this here, a little bit of a pop. Yeah. It's not enough for me to really assign anything. And then heading into the close, because really there's nothing else throughout the rest of the day. The close was relatively normal. It was a little heavy, if we're being honest, on the red side, broken up by simply one green bar across, into the close. If we disregard that after hours bar, we're looking at 6 red bars compared to 1 green bar, which is a bit heavy to the red side, but the actual volume sizing is very normal. However, the ratio of red to green is indicative of a little bit of bearish bias there heading into the close, which is, not entirely unexpected given a 15% day to the downside. Now, let's move on. Let's take a look at the psychological levels, those self-fulfilling prophecy areas, starting with the 30-minute chart, a very commonly watched time frame. You'll notice it's very simple, right? I just have the 200 period and the 50 period. As far as these blue levels, ignore those for now until we get to the daily, where those are really what we'll be looking at. For now, just look at what's specific to the 30-minute, the 200 period and the 50 period. You'll notice that we currently find ourselves approximately 6.1% away from that 200 period, which is the nearest. Now listen, bears, what you guys really want to see is that white line, the 50 period, aggressively coming downside, because it's bound to move more quickly than the 200. Aggressively move downside and put a potential psychological resistance as close to the now lower stock price as possible, right? To kind of put it lower and then give it trouble getting back up. Whereas bulls, primary concern is to reclaim both of those ideally, but remember, it's 6-7% away to do that. So aside from doing that, what I'm really watching is I would prefer that 50 period doesn't move downside very quickly. I would prefer it actually flattens out, ideally even ahead of the 200 period. Okay, but if it comes below the 200, that's fine. The cross is not something I'm actually worried about, that downside cross of the 50 over the 200. Because I know that reclaiming the 50 will curl back up quickly. It's a fast adjusting moving average. But as a bull, from a bullish perspective, I would just prefer to kind of have open sky getting up to reclaim those. And then we can kind of tackle that when we get there, once this earnings is kind of off the table. We can move back upside, tackle that, and then get above and then push. Okay, whereas bears, you want that getting low as soon as possible, causing trouble back upside. Now, the 4-hour chart, we take a look. Now, you guys can see here that we gave up. You can see the 200 period is kind of hiding right behind that 22.97 level, which is really 23. And then we have the 50 period. Well, we gave up both of those off of this earnings. All right. Now, we're approximately 4.7% from the 50 period and about 7% from the 200 period. Bears, really? You start to see this 50 period flattening out. You know, we're talking multiple percent to retest that. If we did retest it and you're a bear, you'd want to see that hold as resistance, right? But ideally, you would just have the stock stay at least flat, if not down further, and then see this 50 period start to curl to get, like on the 30-minute, right? Another potential psychological area of resistance low, close to the now lower stock price. Whereas bulls, priority number one is just to reclaim that 50 period as soon as possible. And again, we're less than 5% away, right? It's about 4.7, 4.8% away. It's within reason. We've seen crazier things out of Palantir in a single day. That's really what I'm watching. I want to see that rip through on higher volume, retest on lower volume, and then bounce on elevated volume, which really kind of shows a reclaim of that 50 period as support, because we gave it up now. You can even see right this morning we tried to kind of like wick up and test that, and we got rejected. Okay, so reclaiming that is what I'd like to see from a bullish perspective. Now the daily chart. Now we can really take a look at the most heavily watched scenarios, and really look at this. The daily is the most important, right? Because it has the most eyeballs. Now we've been talking about this $21.30 to $23 channel for quite a while now. And we had recently reclaimed the 50-day, right? We had gone up and tried to kind of test 25. We talked about that yesterday. And now we find ourselves giving up the 50-day back in the $21.30 to $23 channel. And not only that, but we're near the bottom of that channel, okay? So, you know, that's not extraordinarily exciting, but I think it's important to zoom out and understand. You know, with these videos being primarily geared toward the following day, it's easy to zoom in and really get stuck on that. But, you know, it's important to understand, guys, that we've kind of reset back to where we were a week ago, approximately. Okay, do you want to be more technical than that? Maybe going back to the 25th of April. It's not like we just set ourselves back 6 months. Not even close. But listen, the story here tomorrow, guys, tomorrow's the battle, I think, of $21.30. And aside from there, once a decision is made around $21.30, bulls, a reclaim of 22 is a great place to start. Okay, on Palantir priced in the $20 range, each whole dollar is a psychological level. So I'm looking at stair-stepping each whole dollar, starting with 22 upon a hold of $21.30. Bears, goal number one, break downside of $21.30, get outside of that channel to the downside, and then get below 21. Stair-step kind of like to the downside, right? The equivalent to the downside, starting with 21 bucks a share, getting below that. Now, implied volatility, guys, as we discussed, this was highly expected. We talked about this. It tanked, right? That's normal, right? I mean, think about it. It's implied volatility. It's being priced in by the traders. What's the volatility expectation in the near future? With a volatility catalyst, like earnings, that rises. After the catalyst is done, this tends to tank off the vast majority of the time, and that's what we got here today. So if you're experiencing some IV crush here today, there's your culprit. But the lower that goes, right, for those of you looking to buy options to open new positions, the lower IV goes in comparison to your intended trade time frame, well, then the further below that equilibrium in that time frame IV is. Right, so, you know, kind of by default, conditions become more favorable because you're paying less Vega value up front. Now, expected move. We have new data now for the first time since earnings. If we take a look, the next expiration we have is this Friday, May 10th. Okay, the expected move by Friday's close compared to today's close is plus or minus $1.01 per share. So what we can do is divide that by 3 trading days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? And then I add back 50% to make up for the fact that that first number assumes a green streak or a red streak into the end of the week. And that gives us, with a little bit of math, a little bit of guesswork, that gives us the expected move for tomorrow's close, Wednesday's close compared to today's close, of plus or minus about 50 cents per share. Okay, that's what the market's telling us in terms of volatility expectation. And you might be thinking, well, what about directional bias? That's not the job of the expected move. By design, there is no directional bias there, but we can get directional bias by looking at volume. We have quite a bit here today. We have over 1.1 million total contracts traded on Palantir here today, 750,000 calls, 376,000 puts, heavy call side bias here today. And we go down and break it down by time frame. The short-term speculators, that 0 to 20 delta range, 334,000 calls and 120,000 puts. Heavy call side bias out of the short-term speculators as well. Listen, if your goal here is to kind of try to expedite this whole process of trading or being a trader, that's what I created the private community, the private server for over 3 years ago now. I encourage you to join. The alerts are going out there every single day. And that link in the pinned comment, that link that'll allow you to get grandfathered in at the current rate, so you're immune to future price raises. Listen, guys, if you're getting value out of these daily Palantir uploads, I ask you to do one thing that's 100% free, takes half a second. Leave a like on the video, and then please get out of here and enjoy your day. I greatly appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.